My name is Jono, and I've spent most of my life holding pencils and doing drawings. I just discovered that there's a wikiHow page on how to hold a pencil or how to correctly hold a pencil. I've been holding pencils for the last 10 years professionally, and I thought I'd look through the wikiHow page on how to hold pencils and see if I could learn something. Also, a huge thank you to this video sponsor, Squarespace, but I'll tell you more about them later. Okay, so method 1, basic grip. Apparently we're using these 3 fingers. So, I mean, this is how we all learned how to hold a pencil in school, I imagine. What on earth? Oh, that's really nice. Underhand, overhand grip. So yeah, I actually do use those. And then these, and overhand is like that. Oh, so satisfying. This is actually pretty comprehensive. Less common grips. Really interesting. Okay. Let's take a look at some of these videos of this.
Your goal is to create something. So however you need to get there to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish becomes the right way. The right way is the way that gives you the results you're looking for.
I think the sentiment that everyone talks about is that the right way to hold a pencil is the way that helps you achieve what you're trying to achieve. So for me, I didn't actually realize that there was something to holding pencils. I just thought that it was a standard like this, and then I kind of caught myself holding it in different ways. And it got me to thinking, what are those different ways and why am I doing it that way? So I think there's a lot of variables when it comes to holding a pencil. You've got accuracy, range, pressure, and consistency. When it comes to accuracy, I would say that the tripod grip is definitely the way that we've all learned. That's really useful for writing, for being really accurate on small details. But this is quite limited. I find that if you're trying to cover a large area, you're using your wrist to create strokes, and it can really be quite difficult to cover. That's the largest area that I can cover using this grip. With this grip, I think the intention more is to have the dexterity within your fingers so that you have control over smaller details and you just don't really have to move your wrist that much. So tripod grip for finer details makes total sense, but range of motion though suffers. And when you're looking for range of motion, then using the back of the pencil, either with an overhand, underhand, or even a tripod grip on the back of the pencil will give you a larger range of motion, so you can cover a larger area. What I found is I'd hold the pencil further back to try and get a little bit more space. So this way I can use my fingers still and get a larger area that I can cover naturally and with an even tone. And with a pencil extender, it even pushes out a little bit further. And this has become a way that I actually work quite often to cover large areas. If you've started working on large pieces of paper, it becomes surprisingly difficult to do. So I also use a brush technique to then go over that work as well. And the lighter I use my pencil, the easier it is to erase. So often I'll be using the darkest pencil I can, which would be an 8B, and then applying that graphite, which is very soft graphite, and then I can erase back out. So I would call this, I suppose it's the same as a tripod grip, but very far back on the pencil itself. And that's super useful for me. Other than that would be the underhand grip. So that is moving like this, and often this will be for large gestural areas. So I use this often in the beginning of a drawing when I'm trying to plan something out. And I find it quite an elegant way of using a pencil that allows you to use your wrist a lot more. There's a lot more stability in it. And so if you're trying to make broader strokes with gestures, often if you're working on an easel, it's really helpful to be able to use your pencil like this. Otherwise, overhand grip is also quite similar, although rather than underhand where you can hold quite far back, overhand I generally find that I would hold close to the end of the pencil. I'd get a lot of control that way. This is also for pressing harder. So my index finger would be supporting the top of the pencil, and very easily I can get quite a lot of pressure, and even pressure as well. It feels so comfortable actually. And a really lovely even tone as well. You can use the brush to go over that. The other thing that changes when your pencil grip changes is the side of the graphite that you're using. So if you're using a tripod grip, you're often using the very tip of your pencil, and that's how you get those very sharp, fine details. Using the underhand and overhand grip allows you to get the flat side of your pencil, which can be extremely useful for larger areas. The only issue with using the flat side of the pencil is that the relief of the paper really shows. So you get that paper texture, which can be very beautiful and very stylistic depending on the kind of paper that you're using. Often I try to be really intentional about when I show texture and when I don't. So I need to be able to control that. Fortunately, using techniques like the brush technique, I can get away with using the flat side of the pencil to cover a large area of the page with graphite evenly. So that's also what these different grips come down to are control in different ways. So control in the details that you're getting, so controlling those kinds of details. The tripod grip would be very useful, but then you lose out on being able to move over large areas evenly. Whereas the overhand grip with your finger at the top, you have control of your pressure, but you don't have a lot of control over detail. And underhand, you have control of large gestures, but you don't have control of the pressure. So there's often this compromise that happens. I didn't actually realize how much goes into holding a pencil. It's actually become muscle memory for me in a massive way. I think what would be very useful with this is to draw a couple squares and spend a bit of time filling those squares up with different grips and seeing what the pros and cons would be. I'd also definitely make sure that you change the size of those squares so that you can get an idea of which grip would be more effective. I think what's also important to bear in mind is working on a large piece of paper, you can't always turn your paper around. And so what needs to happen in order to change the axis that you have the most accuracy on would mean to change your grip. Overhand grip, I have a diagonal axis because of my arm moving like this. Whereas underhand grip or underhand tripod grip, I suppose, I'd have the reverse axis. I find myself very often working at the back of a pencil using a pencil extender, but I think that's also because my work is very large, so I need to cover large areas. I think the point here is to develop a muscle memory for multiple different grips. Everything is possible with one grip, it just would take a huge amount of time, or you might just feel a little bit clumsy using like an overhand grip for really fine detail as to the tripod grip where it's designed to really give you that accuracy, but to try and fill in a large area evenly with the tripod grip is just going to be a huge pain. It's going to take a huge amount of time. So I think what I've learned here and over the last couple of years is to slowly learn that vocabulary, to be able to switch between grips relatively quickly and know when you need to use one grip or another. But I feel like it also will come naturally over time. Realizing the limitations of each grip naturally feels like you need to switch it over. But I think you can maybe fast track your drawing if someone tells you that these are the options available to you, rather than having to battle with something for ages and then realize that there's a faster way. Before I end this video, I just want to give a quick shout out to this video sponsor, Squarespace. I've been working with them for a couple of years now and they've played a huge role in my career. Not only in sponsoring this video and helping me maintain this channel, but early on in my career I was looking for a way to showcase my work and I didn't have time to learn HTML and to try and dive into building a website, making sure that everything was up to date and that it didn't crash and that it was all working correctly. It's really quite a nightmare. I've needed to find a way to showcase my work beautifully, make it easy for collectors to find me and get in touch with me. And I felt that Squarespace did all of that effortlessly. I never had to patch or upgrade anything. I could register a domain with them and set up an online store. And most importantly, I could design a portfolio and show my work the way that I wanted to. Also, every time I got stuck, their amazing support team helped me out instantly. So if you're looking at building a website, give Squarespace a try. And if you decide that you love them, use the soft code and get 10% off your first purchase. This is something that I think I've been taking for granted for the last couple of years. And through teaching James and Jess and working with Gemma, I've realized that there's some things for me that are just a bit of a blind spot, and being able to share some of these things that have just really been ingrained in my daily practice and give them names has been really helpful. If you found this helpful or just entertaining, leave a like. It helps the channel out in a huge way. As always, thanks for the support and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.